The conscience of money. Al-Ghazali's thousand-year-old warning. When we think of economics, names like Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or perhaps Aristotle, if we paid attention in school, usually come to mind. But hiding in the dusty pages of the Middle Ages is a profound truth that Western-centric history books rarely mention. Exactly 1,000 years ago, long before the word capitalism was ever heard or central banks existed, a Muslim scholar issued a massive warning that echoes at the heart of every financial crisis we face today. When money loses its moral compass, societies rot from the inside out. Looking at today's world, we can see that he analyzed us even better than we analyze ourselves. Welcome to The Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it seems, a dissenting voice in the Islamic Golden Age. To understand Al-Ghazali, we need to travel to a world that feels both familiar and incredibly distant. The year is around 1100 CE. Europe is a fragmented and poor continent, still trying to emerge from the shadows of the early Middle Ages. On the other side, a massive Islamic world stretches from Spain to Persia. The cities are vibrant. Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo, these are centers of both trade and intellect. Silk, spices, and silver travel the world in caravans. Scholars debate astronomy, philosophy, and medicine. The economy is growing so fast that wealth is transforming society at a speed no one can quite predict. In the midst of this dizzying wealth and widening gaps, one name stands out: Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali. He wasn't just a philosopher or a religious scholar. He was an intellectual who critiqued the world of his time in the harshest way. He could explain the depths of the soul and the complexities of the monetary system with the same mastery. Born in Persia in 1058 and reaching the peak of his career at a young age, what truly set him apart was his refusal to say everything is fine. He saw a society that looked shiny on the outside but was decaying within. A society obsessed with money while losing the meaning of life. Money is not an end, just a mirror. Actually, we don't need to look very far to understand today. Al-Ghazali asked the question no one dared to ask back then: what happens to a civilization that gets rich faster than it gets wise? As he pursued this question, he didn't view money as just numbers. He examined its moral and psychological effects. He laid out how money changes human behavior, trust, and the fate of nations. According to Al-Ghazali, money wasn't something to be collected, hoarded, or used for showing off. It was merely a tool, a facilitator that made life easier. He compared money to a mirror. A mirror has no value on its own. Its only purpose is to reflect what is in front of it. The power of money lies not in the metal itself, but in what people can build with it and how they connect through it. Hoarding suffocates society. Speculation kills trust. One of Al-Ghazali's sharpest warnings was this: hoarded money is dead money. Wealth that is cast aside and withdrawn from the market is a betrayal not just to the owner, but to the entire society. Because if that money doesn't circulate, the worker can't get paid, trade stops, and families can't survive. Al-Ghazali saw this as the blood flow of society stopping. When the wealthy keep money only for themselves, an artificial scarcity is created in the market, and it's the common people who pay the price. He was equally clear against those who speculate, feed off crises, and chase unfair profits. The money you earn from the pain of others is the very essence of corruption. To him, this corruption was like a virus. Once it infected the market, it would spread everywhere, from the highest offices to the smallest shopkeepers. Economics is about trust, not just numbers. Al-Ghazali wasn't against trade or making a profit. On the contrary, he believed that honest trade kept society on its feet. His problem was with those who gathered money through cheating, lies, and manipulation. He believed that markets only function when people trust one another. If trust ends, the system collapses, no matter how big it is. What economists today call information asymmetry, he explained 1,000 years ago with a moral foundation. When the state reaches into our pockets, inflation is theft. The rulers of that era would also reduce the amount of gold in coins to close budget deficits, effectively stealing from the public's pocket in secret. Al-Ghazali was one of the fiercest critics of this debasement, the lowering of a currency's value. To him, this was clearly theft. This manipulation by the state hit the poor the hardest and shook the financial system to its core. He had a warning. Unjust rulers ruin a country faster than any foreign enemy. Human nature and the way out. Al-Ghazali knew that the way to fix the economy wasn't through mathematical formulas, but through the scales inside the human heart. People hoard because they are afraid. They speculate because they are greedy. In a place where exploitation is considered normal, collapse is inevitable. That's why he argued that money carries a responsibility. If everyone in a society thinks only of their own safe, that system will eventually crush under its own weight. 1,000 years later, what has changed? Today, Al-Ghazali's writings don't look like ancient texts from the Middle Ages. They stand before us like a 21st century checkup report. We live in a world where money moves at lightning speed but loses its meaning, where inequality reaches the heavens, and where speculation is rewarded over production. Inflation eats away at our money, and our trust in institutions decreases every day. If Al-Ghazali were alive today, he would likely say, "Where justice ends, the money in your wallet no longer holds any power." The truth is actually very clear. Economies don't collapse because the numbers don't add up. They collapse because people can no longer turn to one another. Our fears, our greed, and our desire to get rich through shortcuts are what truly push systems into crisis. Al-Ghazali wasn't just giving us a religious lesson. He was telling us the naked truth. Money is not a mechanical part. It is a living moral ecosystem. If this ecosystem is poisoned, we all lose. That is why his message is more vital today than ever. If this story has opened a new window for you, don't forget to subscribe and join us. Remember, history doesn't repeat itself, but if you don't understand it, the consequences will crush you all the same. Would you like me to generate some chapter titles or an end screen script to match this translation for your video?